This is not advice. It is a warning. A warning to those who believe kindness protects them. A warning to those who think love guarantees loyalty. A warning to those who walk into power, still hoping to be liked. Because Machiavelli understood something most people refuse to accept. Fear is not the enemy of leadership. Fear is the foundation of it. Let me tell you something dark but true. The man who is loved walks into a room and waits for attention. The man who is feared doesn't have to. His presence is louder than words. His silence commands obedience. His eyes are enough to kill a conversation. And the people around him, they adjust, they shrink, they perform. Why? Because they don't want to disappoint him? No, because they're afraid of what happens if they do. And that is real power. Machiavelli didn't believe in fairy tales. He didn't believe in nice guys finishing first. He believed in control. And control in his world didn't come from being liked. It came from being respected or feared. You think you're powerless because you're not charming enough, not tall enough, not rich enough? Wrong. You're powerless because you still want to be liked. Machiavelli wrote The Prince for those who were ready to give up their illusions, to stop begging for approval and start mastering fear. Because here's the secret, you don't have to hurt people to be feared. You just have to stop trying to be harmless. So ask yourself this. When people speak your name in rooms you're not in, do they smile or do they sit up straighter? Because in a world of masks and manipulation, only one kind of man truly wins, the man everyone fears. Now, let's break down the mind of Machiavelli and uncover the formula he gave us to build absolute power. If you want real power, the kind that doesn't vanish when people are offended or when you're not around, you cannot build it on love, because love is unstable. People love you when you make them feel good. They love you when you serve them, praise them, give them what they want. But the moment you say no, the moment you stop feeding their ego, that love turns cold. They betray, they gossip, they disappear. Love is conditional. But fear? Fear stays. Fear lasts. Fear makes people think twice before crossing you. This is not about violence. Machiavelli never said, be cruel for no reason. He said, if you must choose between being loved and being feared, choose fear. Because people respect boundaries when they're enforced. People obey rules when there's a consequence. People only stay loyal when there's something to lose. That's the world we live in. Not the world we wish for, not the fantasy Instagram version of human nature, the real one. And if you're still chasing love from everyone, still hoping people will like you enough to never hurt you, You've already lost. You will be used. You will be stepped on. You will be replaced. But if you learn what Machiavelli taught, how to shape fear without becoming a monster, how to control perception without showing your hand, then you become something very different. You become untouchable. You become the man everyone fears and no one dares to betray. Let's now uncover the 5 ruthless laws Machiavelli embedded in The Prince. Laws that still dominate the world today. Number 1. Control their perception before they see your power. Machiavelli understood a brutal truth that most people never even consider. Power is not what you are. Power is what they think you are. Let that sink in. In the game of power, people are not reacting to your strength. They are reacting to their image of your strength. And that image, you control it, or they will. This is why the most dangerous man doesn't reveal his full capacity. He doesn't brag, he doesn't perform, he lets others imagine the damage he could do, because imagination is more terrifying than reality. Think about it. Who do you fear more, the man who yells and makes threats, or the one who stays silent, stares through you and says nothing?
Exactly.
Machiavelli taught that appearances, not truth, shape political power. He wrote that a prince must appear merciful, faithful, humane, upright, religious, even if he is none of those things. Why? Because perception is reality in the minds of the people. Control how they see you, and you control how they treat you. This is why image is a weapon. This is why confidence, even when faked, creates authority. And this is why weakness, when exposed, is fatal. Let's be honest. Most people walk into rooms hoping to be liked. They smile too much, they over-explain, they try to prove they're nice. But the more you try to look harmless, the more people feel safe using you doubting you, disrespecting you. And once they label you as soft, that label sticks. Machiavelli would say, never give them that power. Instead, master the art of strategic mystery. Speak less than necessary. Let your silence build tension. Make people fill in the blanks with their own fear. Because if they don't know what you're capable of, they assume the worst. And that assumption, it becomes protection. Protection. Even in modern life, in boardrooms, relationships, online, people project power based on the signals you send. So be deliberate. Control your body language. Speak with precision, not panic. Let your presence carry weight. Make your silence speak louder than their words. Machiavelli didn't believe in raw strength. He believed in the illusion of dominance, because illusions don't need to be proven, they just need to be believed. So remember this, you don't need to show power. You need them to feel it before you ever use it. Control perception. And you've already won the first battle without lifting a finger. Number 2, be feared but not hated. There's a fine line between fear and hatred, and Machiavelli mastered the art of walking it. He warned that while fear is a tool of power, hatred is a trap. Because a man who is feared can control the room, but a man who is hated becomes a target. A prince should make himself feared in such a way that if he is not loved, he avoids being hated. What does this mean? It means make them respect your power, but never make them dream of your downfall. Fear makes people obey. Hatred makes people plot. Machiavelli understood that the feared man survives not because he is loved, but because no one dares to move against him. At the same time, he survives because they see a line he never crosses. He punishes, but never cruelly. He dominates, but never without purpose. He installs fear, but not resentment. Let me give you a modern example. Steve Jobs, the man behind Apple. He was feared. His employees walked on edge, knowing a single word could end their career. He was intense, demanding, cold, but they didn't hate him because they saw the vision behind the fury. They saw that his cruelty served something greater. He didn't punish because he was angry, he punished because he expected excellence. That's the difference. Now contrast that with someone like a petty manager who uses authority to compensate for insecurity, who micromanages, humiliates, punishes without strategy. That kind of man isn't feared, he's hated. And eventually, he's replaced. Machiavelli warned against unnecessary cruelty. He said, if you must strike, do it once, cleanly and never again, because repeated punishment breeds resentment. And resentment is fuel for rebellion. So what does this mean for you? It means you must create a presence that commands, not begs. You must draw boundaries with sharpness, not emotion. And you must learn to say no in a way that makes them think twice before asking again. But here's the key. You don't punish out of pride. You don't dominate to feed your ego. You do it to protect your time, your mission, your standard. People will fear disappointing you, not because you'll explode, but because your silence is worse. They fear losing access to you. They fear the weight of your disapproval. They fear that once they cross the line, they never get back in. That is control. So remember Machiavelli's law. Be feared, never hated. Strike when needed, then disappear. Let them fear losing your favor more than facing your wrath. Because hate breeds resistance, but fear, handled wisely, breeds obedience. Number 3, break loyalty with strategic betrayal. Loyalty is beautiful until it becomes a weapon used against you. Machiavelli never romanticized loyalty. He understood it for what it really is, a tool, temporary, transactional, and fragile. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Let that settle, because in the modern world, people will tell you that loyalty is everything. But behind every throne, behind every rise to power, there is betrayal. Not emotional betrayal, strategic betrayal. When someone's usefulness expires, when their loyalty becomes a chain around your neck, you cut it. Machiavelli believed that loyalty should be rewarded only for as long as it serves your purpose. And when it no longer does, you let go, not with guilt, but but with calculation. Let's look at a real-world example. Or Julius Caesar, admired by the Roman people, trusted by the Senate. He rose because of alliances. He was praised, protected, celebrated, until he became too powerful, and then those who once praised him assassinated him, not because they hated him, but because they feared what he had become. Now flip the script. Napoleon Bonaparte. He rose through the ranks by playing the loyalty game, winning trust. Then, when the time came, he turned on his allies, dissolved the republic, crowned himself emperor. He didn't wait for betrayal, he preempted it. He used people, then outgrew them, and didn't hesitate to cut them off when they became a threat. Cold? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely, because power is not maintained by holding hands. It is maintained by cutting ropes before they tighten into nooses. So what does this mean for you? It means this. Stop thinking loyalty is forever. Stop believing that people who smile with you today will stand by you tomorrow. And stop sacrificing your future to protect someone else's comfort. Sometimes the people you're loyal to are the very ones slowing you down. Sometimes the path to dominance requires a clean break, not a polite goodbye. Here's the key. You don't betray emotionally, you betray strategically. You leave quietly. You promote someone else when they least expect it. You backstab, not to wound, but to advance. And you never apologize. Because Machiavelli knew a wise ruler must not honor his word when it puts him at a disadvantage. This is not cruelty, it's survival. Loyalty in the Machiavellian world is currency. Spend it when needed, burn it when it costs too much. Be feared, be respected, but never be predictable. Because when they think you're too loyal to walk away, that's when you strike. Number 4, use cruelty wisely and quickly. Machiavelli did not shy away from cruelty. He embraced it, but only when it served a precise and tactical purpose. Injury should be inflicted all at once, so that being less tasted, it gives less offense. Read that again. If you must hurt, hurt once and make it count. Because cruelty when scattered breeds hatred, but cruelty when delivered with precision creates order. This is not about being violent. It's about being final. A weak man punishes endlessly. A strong one punishes once with such force and clarity that it never needs to happen again. Take Vlad the Impaler. Yes, the man behind the Dracula legend. He was ruthless. He impaled criminals, enemies, and traitors publicly. Terrifying, bloody, extreme. But after that, crime vanished. His people obeyed. Not because he ruled with love, but because his punishment was so swift and horrifying, no one dared to test him twice. That is Machiavellian cruelty. Use it once, use it early, use it as a message. Let's go modern. Look at CEOs like Elon Musk. When he took over Twitter, now X, he didn't ease people into change. He fired thousands in one swift blow. No negotiation, no slow meetings, just a clean purge. Was it cold? Yes, but it sent a message. There's a new king, and his word is final. Machiavelli would have applauded him. Why? Because cruelty, when delayed, becomes chaos. It spreads, it mutates, it creates resentment, but when done decisively, it forces people to adapt, to submit, to comply. That is the point. If you need to take power, do it fast. If you need to cut someone off, don't explain, don't stall, don't soften the blow. Do it in one clean strike and move on. And never ever look back. Here's what Machiavelli warned against. Drip-feeding punishment. Leaders who punish slowly, over time, rot their reputation. People start to resent the pattern, not just the punishment. But when you strike once, with intensity, the fear lasts longer than the pain. Let them feel it. Let them remember it. But don't let them suffer endlessly. Pain should be sharp, but short. Mercy, on the other hand, you give that in pieces. Small, visible acts of kindness, spaced out over time, make people loyal. Because the human mind remembers pain, but craves comfort. If you manage both wisely, you rule. So remember, be cruel when necessary, not often. Deliver it early, not repeatedly. Make it clear, and never hesitate. Because in the kingdom of power, the feared man survives, the cruel man ascends. And the uncertain man is overthrown. Number 5. Use morality as a mask, not a rule. Machiavelli didn't believe in morality, he believed in the appearance of morality, because in the game of power, people don't care if you're good. They care if you look good. A prince must appear to be virtuous even if he is not. You don't need to be honest, you need to appear honest. You don't need to be fair, you need to appear fair. Because once people believe in your character, they stop questioning your actions. That is control through illusion. This law is not about using cruelty, that was law 4. This law is about using kindness, fairness, empathy as a disguise. A man who shows power without restraint becomes a villain, but a man who wraps his ambition in virtue, he becomes a hero. A leader. This is how tyrants rise. They don't show the iron fist, they show the open hand while hiding the blade. Let's look at real-world examples. He acted lethal. Look at modern tech giants. They speak of ethics, community, inclusion. Meanwhile, they harvest data, influence elections, and quietly remove their competitors. That's not hypocrisy, that's strategy. They wear the mask of good. Because the mask protects the dagger. Here's what this means for you. Don't show your hunger for control, show your desire to help. Don't admit to strategy, frame it as doing what's right. Don't show dominance, call it servant leadership. And never, ever let them see the wolf beneath your smile. Because people follow those they trust, and trust is rarely earned through truth, it's manufactured through presentation. Let others play by moral rules. You play by results and dress them in righteousness. Because once they believe you're a man of virtue, they won't see the trap until it's too late. Be the saint in public. Be the strategist in private. Win their hearts, then control their minds. This is not cruelty. This is higher manipulation. This is Machiavellian morality, a weapon disguised as wisdom. And the man who masters it, he doesn't just rule, he is worshipped. You've now seen what most people will never understand. Not because they can't, but because they're too soft to handle it. Because power isn't about strength, it's about the fear that strength creates. And Machiavelli didn't write for the many, he wrote for the one who dares to rule, not serve, to dominate, not beg, to be feared, not loved. Let's burn this into your mind. Control their perception before they see your power. Be feared, but never hated. Break loyalty the moment it becomes a liability. Strike with cruelty only once, and never hesitate. Appear just while manipulating morality like a weapon. These are not just rules. These are survival codes for a world that hides its knives behind smiles. And now the question is simple. Will you walk back into the world pretending you never saw this? Will you keep playing the role of the agreeable, harmless, forgettable man? Or will you sharpen your presence, control how they see you, start ruling with silence, strategy, and fear? Because, understand this, the world fears the man it cannot predict. It obeys the man it cannot read, and it worships the man it cannot touch. So stop chasing approval. Stop asking for permission, and stop letting weaker men write your story. Instead, become the man they whisper about in rooms. The man whose presence rewires the atmosphere. The man whose smile conceals strategy, and whose silence holds more weight than their loudest threats. Become the man Machiavelli wrote for, the man everyone fears, and no one can stop. If you're ready to master fear, command respect, and rule without mercy, hit that subscribe button now before it's too late.